Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the News Today edition of 5th of August, wherein we try and make all important news for the day in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. So, let's look at the important topics for today. So, recently, Parliamentary Standing Committee has given recommendations with respect to environmental, social, and governance structure of these corporate functions. Niti Aayog has released a report which is telling that again, electric vehicle opportunity in India is somewhere around $200 billion. Standing Committee on Finance has told that again we need to develop more gift city like financial centers in major metro cities. A collaboration has been done between IIT Madras and Indian Army Research Center, which is called as Agni Shodh. And recently, Supreme Court in its judgment has told that again the pollution control boards in India can impose environmental compensation. We're also going to discuss place in news, that is Philippines, along with quick updates for the day. So the very first news, so Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance has recommended that again we need to work towards what we call as environmental, social and governance. And they are telling that it is a step towards responsible corporate behavior in India. Sir, what is responsible behavior? We are seeing that again there are many corporations, there are many big companies which are working in India. So it is being told that again you are not here only to make money, you are here to of course behave in an ethical manner. You have some kind of social responsibility which you are going to give back to the society. That is what we call as the ESG, the ESG, that is environmental, social and governance. So this is how the committee has told that again we need to work towards this as well, right? So my question to you in comment, tell me who are the members of Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance, right? Very important for your prelims examination from polity perspective. So again, this news is important for GS paper number 2 governance and GS paper number 3, that is environment and ecology. So let's look at what do we understand by ESG. As simple as that, environmental, social and governance parameters for all the corporate companies working in India. Sir, what do you understand by environmental obligation towards the society? That whether a country is trying to reduce pollution, whether a company is having energy efficient policies, and whether the company is climate conscious or not. Because at the end of the day, we need to realize that India is, and again at a global level, we are trying to achieve all the 17 sustainable developmental goals by 2030. Tell me which SDG is related to climate change in comment, right? Then in terms of social obligation, every company that again it is going to make sure that again it is going to treat its workers, women and communities at large in a desired manner, and also that there are some more social obligations of a company towards the employees who are working over there with respect to their safety, maternity benefits, anti-harassment policies, and overall the governance structure of that particular company has to be fair and transparent, and there has to be accountability for any kind of unethical actions which are being done by the company, right? So again, we have seen in news that again how many companies were in news with respect to accountability issues, with respect to governance issues, with respect to social issues. We have seen incidences of how work-life balance has disturbed. This is where these rules comes into picture. And again, we are here to make that the committee has suggested that we need to formalize these rules. So that does that mean why exactly it is important? As I discussed, again going by the idea of sustainable growth, then again it is ensuring that again companies in the way of growing them, right, they are not taking environment or planet or the people in general over working over there at a backstage, right? So development should go along with contribution towards environment, society, as well as a better governance structure, right? And we need to, and this is again, if these things are done, it is also going to make a company worth investor trust, and again it is going to improve the global competitiveness of such companies at a global level. And of course it is going to fight the greenwashing and poor corporate behavior. I'll discuss what is greenwashing. And of course the poor corporate behavior basically means that again how big companies nowadays are not very much environment friendly. They are not contributing towards society, and again the governance structure is weak, right? So this is weak. This is why this ESG is very important. Then do we have any kind of such practices? Do we have any law which tells about it? Sir, the Indian corporate structure or Indian big corporate companies are governed by Companies Act of 2013. This act has no explicit mention that every corporate organization need to follow this ESG basic standards. Right? Does that mean we do not, again, our company is not working anywhere towards society, public, or the environment? No. Implicitly, there are different kind of policies, different kind of legal ways through which, of course, corporate companies are contributing towards society. For example, we have energy conservation clauses with respect to corporates working in India. We have POSH Act, that is for, of course, for sexual harassment at workplace, work safety thing, right? We have Maternity Benefit Act. We have corporate social responsibility under Section 135 of this Companies Act of 2013. So there are some implicit measures, but again this Companies Act does not have a very explicit mention that again every corporate company in India needs to have this ESG guidelines, right? So this is where the parliamentary committee has identified that again we need to make sure that again we have a legal provision with respect to every corporate company in India to abide by this ESG guidelines, right? As simple as that. What was the need? What has been the major concerns which has been identified with respect to this particular thing, right? So greenwashing. What is greenwashing? Acha, what is whitewashing? So many times we feel that again कोई पुरानी बिल्डिंग होती है, बाहर से अच्छा वाइट वॉश कर दिया, बट वंस वी एंटर इट इज स्टिल नॉट इन अ गुड कंडीशंस वंस वी सी देम. It is same happening with companies in India, right? So what they are doing, they are telling, maybe in their products, maybe in their services, they tell that again we are very environmental conscious, this product has been made in an eco-friendly manner, but actually they are not doing it. It is just the marketing what they do to showcase that again we are environment conscious, but actually they are not doing it. That idea is basically called as greenwashing, where again some companies pretend to be eco-friendly, but it is just a marketing strategy what they apply, right? Very important. Then in terms of, we have seen some companies, of course, are working very much towards these ESG guidelines. Some companies are not working. Some companies are working in a middle manner. There is no standard rules and there is no sector-wise effort. So that makes this uneven effort with respect to different sectors, with respect to these ESGs, right? And many times because there are number of companies in terms of their turnover. There are big corporate companies. There are small companies also. Let's say the companies under MSME industries. So if there is a small company, are you expected that again that small company is going to give same amount of contribution with respect to ESG as a big corporate companies? Where is there is evenness? Right. So that is it in discussed that again, small businesses many a times struggle with respect to afford this ESG tracking systems. That is why there has been a proposition by the standing committee that again, how we are going to go forward with respect to these particular issues and things. They have told that again, there have been few recommendations what they have given, that under the Companies Act, you need to create a special body. That body will be working under Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and that will check every corporate companies in India's ESG reports with respect to how a company is performing on the ideas of environment, contributing towards society, and having a good governance structure. that is being done by this particular body, which is supposed to be constituted by the recommendation, right? And again, it is going to make sure that again there is no such company who is doing greenwashing, and if some company is doing greenwashing, that needs to be punished. Then we have, of course, if we are going to add anything, because the Companies Act 2013 does not have any explicit provision with respect to this, so an amendment has to be done into it so that there will be a clear mention of ESG, that which will make these companies include in their working strategies, right? Then, of course, as I discussed, कुछ बड़े कंपनीज भी हैं, कुछ छोटी कंपनीज भी है, राइट? सो अगेन वन शू साइज फिट ऑल अप्रोच should not be applied over here. That is what they have told, that again we need to make rules custom basis. Jaisi need, again, the based upon the nature of profit, the nature of bigness of a company, right? We are going to make rules for different sectors. So small companies, example MSMEs, which needs special support and simpler rules, that has also to be taken into consideration while framing these rules. Then there has to be, again, अब बड़े बड़े कंपनीज में इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड देर आर ऑडिटर्स हु ऑडिट द फाइनेंस ऑफ कंपनी इन अ सिमिलर मैनर. इट हैज बीन टोल्ड दैट अगेन इन दीज कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रक्चर्स वी नीड टू हैव ऑडिटर्स और इंडिपेंडेंट ऑडिटर्स हु आर गोइंग टू ऑडिट दैट अगेन whether these big companies are following the guidelines with respect to environmental, society and governance. That is why in the creation of this independent ESG committee. And then lastly, every company should publish its ESG chapter with respect to how exactly, what all steps it has taken in 1 year with respect to contribution towards environment, society, and overall the governance structure of that particular company. So these are the few recommendations which has been proposed by the parliamentary committee with respect to this ESG guidelines, right? Then, do we have any existing guidelines with respect to these ESG norms? Yes, we have. Number one, we have business responsibility and sustainability reporting, that we call as BRSR, which is mandatory for all top 1,000 listed companies, right? And it is mandated that they need to disclose their ESG in a structured format, right? But यहाँ क्या है? It is only for 1,000 top listed companies, not for the all corporate functioning in India. Then we have one other code in the name of, again, BRSR, which is being done by, regulated by SEBI, which is focusing on assurance-based reporting. That is a tool which is to detect and reduce the idea of greenwashing. कि कैसे companies should not forge that, again, we are eco-friendly, but actually they are not, right? Then we have a national guidelines on responsible business conduct, which is developed, of course, by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, which is encouraging ethical, transparent, and inclusive business practices. Then we have corporate social responsibility. Every company under the Companies Act, if a company has a turnover or a profit, they must spend 2% of the net profit of the last 3 years profit of average on social development. अब इसके साथ कुछ problems है. CSR, people, many big companies are thinking that, again, if we are doing CSR, we are doing charity. Sir, you need to clearly understand it is not a charity. It is something you are obligated towards society. If in a country you are here, you are working, right? You are making business, you are earning money. So it is your responsibility to pay back to society, right? That has been the idea. And it is not something, it is there in Indian, the idea of paying back to society is somewhere there in the Indian tradition. Right. So these are the few existing guidelines with respect to ESG frameworks in India. Right. So that is how about the topic. And again, very good step with respect to clearly demarcating. अगर हम चाह रहे हैं कि we are going to develop in a sustainable manner, so we need to track and we need to have a clear guidelines that all big corporate companies, in fact, all corporate companies should be responsibly working towards the society, environment, and have a good governance structure. Right. So any question? Yes. Very clear. अब देखो BRSR, हमने देखा अभी, right? So again, how in prelims 2021 there's a question, BRFR often mentioned in news is related to what? Right? That was the need of, जब ऐसे आपको कुछ कुछ schemes मिलती हैं, they become very important for your prelims examination because of questions like this. Again, very simple: business performance benchmarking, environmental sustainability reporting, the defense procurement process, labor laws reforms. Very simple. It is environmental sustainability reporting. So for prelims examination, you need not to deep dive into the basic details of a particular topic. A brief understanding would help you to solve questions like this in examination, right? And that is how news or current affairs based questions are asked in examination. Then we have, let's say in topic of governance, we had institutional accountability is central to good governance, right? Discuss this statement in the context of functioning of regulatory bodies in India. Right, we have described the benefits of sustainable developmental goals for India and highlight the measures taken by India to achieve them. Right, so tell me that again, which SDG is related to this particular aspect with respect to the idea of corporate governance in India? Right, tell me in comments. Now, the next topic for today. So, Niti Aayog has recently released a report, and they are telling that again, the electric vehicle industry in India has a potential of about $200 billion, right? That is what they have been telling that again, and we need to harness this opportunity. Why? Number one, electric vehicles health, of course, they are environmentally sustainable, right? And again, they are going to streamline the entire vision of sustainable transport in India. Again, going by the idea of sustainable developmental goals. इसीलिए मैं बोलता हूँ कि प्लीज रिमेंबर ऑल द 17 गोल्स वेरी क्लियरली बिकॉज ऑल 17 गोल्स आर इंटररिलेटेड टू डिफरेंट सब टॉपिक्स ऑफ योर syllabus. Again, this topic can be linked to GS paper number 3, that is infrastructure with respect to transport sector development, right, and environment and ecology. So what exactly is the context over here? Ye QI report and what exactly this report has been talking about, right? So because India's EV market has a potential of this, which is going to be there by 2030, and aim of the project has been that again India should have zero emission mobility, कि जितने भी transportation sector India में हैं that are going to be emitting zero with respect to pollution in the environment, right? So this report talks about what are the challenges with respect to achieving this goal, what are the strategies they are recommending, and state-wise EV performance ranking, which is being, of course, been given with respect to India Electric Mobility Index. I'll discuss this. Tell me, is this not a format which is how you're going to write answers to question? Challenges, solution, right? So sometimes news comes in a manner just like answer, right? It is just how you identify it. Then what are the challenges which has been proposed with respect to this electric vehicles mobility in India? Number one, sir, of course, there are financial issues with respect to, if we see that there is no affordable financing mechanisms for e-buses and e-trucks, which are costing very high. Right, that is one problem. Number two, charging infrastructure. Sometimes we have seen we have inadequate charging infrastructure, and many of the public charging stations which are there are underutilized. Right. Number three, awareness deficit. Again, still I understand, and again, many of you, I will ask you your opinion. अगर आपको एक option मिले, if you have an option, you are going to buy a car. Which car are you going to buy? Right. And why? If you're choosing an electric vehicle, tell me why. And if you're not choosing electric vehicle, tell me the reason. What is the reason? And that is the reason with respect to awareness deficit, where again people does not know that how it is benefiting to the environment. But बहुत लोगों को ये भी लगता है ना कि it is we do not have charging stations. What if we are going for a long ride and again we are running out of battery? What would happen in that cases? So people are less aware, right? And there have been a lot of mishappenings with respect to some two-wheelers catching fires, right? So this is where awareness is less with respect to electric vehicles with the public of India, right? So public private sector are unaware with respect to EV performance and their benefits. And lastly, data and regulatory gaps, right? Do not have any comprehensive data, which is hampering the policy design and investments in this electric vehicle sector. So ये report ने बोला है कि these are the few challenges with respect to EV in India, that is electric vehicles in India: finance, charging infrastructure, awareness deficit, and data and regulatory gaps, right? Ab, sir, what are the recommendations they have told? That again we need to shift to mandates. अब तक क्या हो रहा था कि if you are buying an electric vehicle, so there are some kind of incentives which were given to you. You can claim a tax benefit, right, or a tax exemption if you are buying an electric vehicle, right? That is how government was promoting people to use these electric vehicles. अब ये report बोलती है कि now the time has crossed. Now we are going to make it mandatory that there has to be a clear deadlines, that again deadlines ki by what time we are expecting to have zero emission vehicle in all cities of India, right? And we are going to expand the idea of corporate average fuel efficiency, that is CAFE norms, which is again going by the idea again how the automobile industries of India are going to be encouraged with respect to producing more electric vehicles, right? So ये है कि the shift has to be shifted. That again we are no longer going to incentivize, encourage people. We are going to make it mandatory because it is very much required with respect to harness the potential of electric vehicles in India. Number two, innovative financing. As I discussed, अब क्यों सरकार पैसे दे रही थी, tax benefit क्यों दे रही थी? Number one, to encourage people, and number two, many times what we have seen with respect to this big electric vehicles like e-trucks or e-buses, the cost is very high. If you buy a traditional, let's say, truck, somewhere it would cost around, I'm just telling you roughly, 35-40 lakhs. If you go down to an e-bus or an e-truck, the amount somewhere doubles, right? And that is why it is very much discouraging to go for these electric vehicles. So इसके लिए बोला गया है कि you need to change the approach how you are financing these projects. अब जैसे गवर्नमेंट में many times they lease lands for maybe 50 years, 70 years, right? In a similar manner, they have called for innovative financing with respect to battery leasing, vehicle leasing, right? And again, providing low interest loans, especially for e-buses and e-trucks, where again, the procurement cost or the initial cost of buying is very high. Right. So with this, of course, people are going to get encouraged. And again, with this financial support, they are also going to go for what we call as electric vehicle. Then in terms of urban saturation, right? So abhi humne dekha ki again, what do you understand pilot projects? Instead of doing small things across different cities of India, what they have told, identify few important cities, right? For example, Delhi, Bangalore, Bombay, where again, there is huge amount of pollution, there is huge amount of traffic. On those areas, firstly, focus on creating these cities which are going to be 100% electrified. That the entire public transportation system, right, is going to be working on the basis of 100% electric vehicles. So, कुछ ऐसे cities को identify करो, make them 100% electric, and then you are going to apply this on a pan-India basis. That's exactly what this report has told with respect to urban saturation. Then in terms of course, we are going to give with an idea of research and developmental support, infrastructure development support with respect to charging infrastructure creation, right? So we need to identify certain locations which are suitable for charging infrastructure. Many times what we have seen, अब आप जा रहे हो malls पे, Do we have charging stations in malls where again parking in those parking lots there are a lot of times people park their vehicles and there's an option of what we call as people can charge their vehicles, right? Do we have charging stations across different highways, right? So these are the areas where again we need to identify what are the major areas wherein people are lacking the need for charging infrastructure. Tell me in comments what do you think कि आपको क्या लगता है कि with respect to this electric vehicles where exactly we should and where are the loopholes with respect to charging infrastructure, and what are the key locations where again the government should maybe let's say install these charging infrastructure so that again people can get encouraged to buy these electric vehicles. And again of course with respect to batteries, with respect to the engines, there has to be good research and development. That all are the strategies which this Niti Aayog report has recommended. They have also told that एक और important thing है कि this index was released by Niti Aayog in the year 2024, which is India Electric Mobility Index, कि जितने भी इंडिया के कंटेक्स्ट में हाउ इलेक्ट्रिक मोबिलिटी वी और हाउ मच इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स डू वी हैव. सो अगेन स्टेट वाइज रैंकिंग आर बीइंग गिवन, राइट? सो दिस index is developed by Niti Aayog and World Resource Institute of India. And the purpose, of course, is to benchmark state-wise EV progress. And again, how every state of India is progressing with respect to achieving the idea of electric vehicles using structured indicators. So again, 16 indicators have been identified on which rankings are given. The major 16 indicators are grouped under these three core sectors, that is transport electrification progress, that is 50% weightage दिया गया कि how EV adoption trends and impact the state. With respect to charging infrastructure readiness, 30% weightage has been given, that again how exactly states are developing and making available charging infrastructures in the respective state. And lastly, with respect to EV research and innovation, 20% weightage has been given. So on these three bases across 16 indicators, every state is getting a specific rank. Very important. They can ask you in police examination, this report is released by which body? What is the purpose? Which state is ranking at what rank, right? So tell me, what is your state rank with respect to India Electric Mobility Index? Which state you belong to and what is your ranking in the comments, right? Again, why I'm asking you to maybe comment, because that is how we are going to connect to each other. And again, with this, every student across different states of India, different cities of India can tell what exactly is being done over there, which you can use actually as an examples in your answers, or maybe in the questions which are being asked to you in your personality test, right? Then, in terms of some previous year question to this particular topic, in 2022, GS3, electric vehicles are future of mobility in India, discuss the challenges and opportunities. Sir, exact आप नीति आयोग के रिपोर्ट के challenges and opportunities को कोट करिए, आपका आंसर बन जाएगा, right? 2020, implementation of e-governance initiatives and smart transport systems can transform India urban mobility critically. Example. Again, challenges, solution. You can quote these kind of reports, challenges, datas, because all of these are very much government backed. And again, you are writing government examination. So more you write what the government says, more marks you're going to get in the examination, right? So moving on to the next topic. So recently, again, a standing committee on finance has recommended that again we have GIFT City in Gujarat. So they are telling that again we are going to create more such type of cities in different parts of the country. That has been the major idea with respect to this particular report, right? And again, of course, with respect to syllabus, again important for GS paper number 3, economy, and GS paper number 2, the idea of governance, right? So, iske pehle, I will briefly tell you what is GIFT City, because again, very important concept, right? So, with respect to GIFT City, it stands for Gujarat International Financial Tech City, right? So, again, it is an area in the political boundary of India, but this city, Indian laws, Indian financial laws, Indian banking laws does not apply over there. Why? It is just like you can assume Wall Street suna hai apne in New York. You have seen of London's Canary Wharf. right? All of these are big financial centers, right? So it is just like a mini version of this Wall Street of London, all Wall Street of New York, all London's Canary Wharf, right? So again, what exactly are we doing in this gift city? Foreign money, big financial deals, innovative fintech startups, banking, insurance, stock trading, all of these companies are working, right? Not with by using only Indian currencies, but by using foreign currencies as well. I'll make it more simpler for you, don't worry, right? So India is just like a center which is called as International Financial Service Center, which is a place in India, right? But it works like it is outside India for respect to financial rules, because Indian financial rules does not apply here. We have a special kind of rules for this kind of companies which are operating over here, which is making it easier for international companies to work here. As simple as that. Again, what was the need? Sir, India को जरूरत क्यों थी गिफ्ट सिटी की? Because what we have seen, big Indian companies were going to Dubai, Singapore, and London for maybe finalizing or for going for international finance deals, because Indian companies are also working towards different foreign sectors or different foreign things, right? So they used to go and set up their companies in Dubai, Singapore, London for, of course, maybe any kind of project or international financial deal, right? Because we did not had a special zone where again people can go and work with respect to wherein Indian laws, Indian banking regulations are not going to apply. ऐसा इंडिया में कोई जगह था ही नहीं, राइट? सो वी अगेन इससे क्या हो रहा था कि ऑफ कोर्स इफ कंपनीज आर गोइंग एंड सेटिंग अप देयर ऑफिस ओवर देयर, वी आर लूजिंग ऑन जॉब्स, we are losing on taxes which is companies if operating in India would have paid, right? And again we are of course losing the control over financial sector. So with this gift city which has been created, it is attracting the business back to India, right? It is making it easy to global financial work to do within India, and it is competing with respect to global financial centers, let's say like New York Wall Street, right? So again, this is the scenario before Gift City, and this is what exactly has happened after Gift City, right? To make it more simple, again, it is located in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. Its purpose is to create a place where global finance can happen from inside India, but easy rules and low taxes are going to apply, and it is called as International Finance Service Center, regulated by International Finance Service Centers Authority, IFSCA, very important for your prelims examination, and it is also regulated under Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA, right? So very important facts again for your prelims examination. Next, अब सर होगा क्या इसमें? Example कि if UK bank, let's say if it is operating in India in this gift city, what option or what benefit it will have? A UK bank can open an office here and trade in dollars, euros, and not in rupees. If any fintech company is working over here, let's say कोई startup है which is building an app for international stock trading, they can test and launch here, and where again Indian banking restrictions won't apply to these companies. If let's say any offshore, any banking, any major banks, foreign banks, any insurance, foreign insurance companies are going to work in India, they can sell their policies to NRIs or global centers from here without any restriction from Indian corporate law structures, right? We again, in terms of stocks exchange, what we can do, India's International Stock Exchange, INX, is also operating from Gift City, right? So these are the few benefits what a Gift City offers with respect to international financial centers, right? Then basic features, tax benefits are there. You pay less tax as compared to Indian cities, rest of the Indian cities. Then we have special rules because, of course, though they are politically in India, but again, international financial rules are applicable over here. Indian rules does not apply over here. Foreign money zones, of course, if you're a company, you're not going to deal only with rupees, right? You can deal with dollars, euros, right? Then with respect to, this is also attracting global talent, where again, we require skilled persons in finance, tech, law from India and abroad who can come and work over there, again, going with the idea of employment generation. And lastly, unlike different Indian companies, where again for banking we have RBI regulations, for stock markets we have SEBI, but again all the companies are not coming under RBI rules, SEBI rules, but again, we have a specialized rules for this. That is IFCA regulator, what we have discussed, which was made in the year 2020. So these are the few benefits. What exactly this standing committee report has talked about with respect to GIFT City, India has improved its rank in the Global Financial Centers Index up by 5 ranks. 5 ranks, we are in 46th position. With respect to fintech, all the companies, the tech companies which are working in the finance domain, we have improved the position by 4 ranks. India is ranking 45th in that, right? Has ranked India's first international bullion exchange has been launched in GIFT City, right? It is attracting global banks, investment firms, and fintechs to come and set up their companies in in the GIFT City, right? So these are the few achievements which has been discussed by this particular standing committee report. Why more GIFT cities? अब देखा है कि only such a big country like India and we have only one GIFT city which has huge amount of potential and benefits what we have discussed. So the committee has told that again there has been a demand for global financial services has been rising, right? So one IFC is not enough for India's size and ambition. So again we are going to work by bringing back, if we want to bring back the business which has moved from India to countries like Singapore, Dubai, or London. So we need to create more such GIFT cities, right? And of course, it is going to create job, innovation, investment opportunities more in India itself, right? So what committee has recommended that again we are going to create more financial hubs and we are going to target first the metro cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Chennai. We are, of course, because this kind of model is already being done by China, where again in China we have multiple such big international financial centers in Shanghai, Shenzhen, right? Then we are also going to have regional innovation zones. मान लीजिए Bangalore is a IT hub, Hyderabad IT hub, Bombay is specializing in the stock market. So we are going to create innovative zone sector wise in which city what specialization is there. We are going to create some international financial center which is providing some specific service which is specialized by that particular city, right? And of course we are going to create a regulatory sandbox which is going to create a very safe environment to test the new financial products. So these are the few recommendations which this committee has highlighted. Sir, इससे benefit क्या होगा? Tell me, right? So with respect to the benefit, it is again few other recommendation reforms, right? So taxation, they have told कि the current taxation you are going to make it more simple. We are going to ease out in the paperwork. We are going to more ease out the way how business is being done. We are going to create more skilled workforce who can work in those international financial centers. And lastly, we are going to integrate the idea of digital infrastructure with respect to creation of smart tech, secure data, AI-backed KYC norms. All of these are a few other recommendations which this report has highlighted. With respect to the benefits, it is also going to attract what? अगर बड़े कंपनीज इंडिया में आ रहे हैं, so of course it is going to boost the FDI and global capital outflows. It is going to create high skilled job creation in the finance and tech sectors. It is going to strengthen the financial sector and the innovation. And of course, it is going to increase India's global competitive economic index, right? So very beautiful benefits you can use in your answers. I'll tell you one such question which has been asked in examination. What are the reformative steps taken by the government to make India a financial hub? Dekha? 2016 was the question, right? And again, see exactly how this theme of exact question was repeated in the year 2021. What are the challenges in making India a global financial center, right? This is where, again, I have picked up this question just to make you realize that how important it is to analyze the previous year questions of examination, because it gives you a hint and it prepares you that again, what kind of questions can come down from some theme which is ongoing in the news. Because this was in news, the whole idea of standing computing telling that again we are going to innovate and GIFT City more as a we are going to come up with such more international financial centers, again going by the idea of to make India a financial hub, or going by the idea of how we are going to make India a global financial center, right? So very important. That is how such news becomes important for your examination. The next news, there has been a recent collaboration between IIT Madras and Indian Army Research Center, and that collaboration is basically called as Agni Shodh, which is of course going to empower defense through innovation. And the tagline of this particular collaboration is Swadeshi Karan se Shashakti right? So again, very important for your topic of GS paper number 3, internal security. Imagine a situation कि जितने बड़े बड़े साइंटिस्ट्स ऑफ इंडिया they are there, they are collaborating with the soldiers who are fighting for us at international borders in army, navy and air force. What if their demand, they tell them to the big scientists, right, and they can collaborate and they can work towards to increase the defense sector. Yahi ho raha hai is project mein, what we call as Agni Shodh, right? So this project is basically a joint initiative by India, IIT Madras and Indian Army, which is going to convert lab scale innovations, because scientists are working on labs, right, to a battle ready technology, right? That is how collaboration is going to work with respect to defense sector of India. And again, promoting the idea of what we call as Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense. And again, it has made 5 pillars. Agar ye bola hai ki this Agni Shodh has been having 5 pillars on which directions we are going to work. We are going to absorb new technology, which are that again we are going to reuse the research, which is going to be used by military for providing different kind of solutions to the problem. We are going to have structural reforms that again we are going to make the defense sector, which is tech driven and which is agile, because it is changing on the changing demand of the nature, right? We are going to train scientists and soldiers in new tech areas. We are going to integrate the 3 sectors of army, that is army, navy and air force. And we are going by the idea of indigenization, which is going to reduce the dependency on foreign defense procurement. That is the 5 pillars of this Agni Shodh defense transformation, right? Then in terms of why do we need this defense innovation? Because we have seen at a global level, major big countries are spending very much on this defense procurement. The data shows that the world is spending around $2.7 trillion on defense procurement. If India is not doing innovation or work towards in this sector, we are going to lose out. We are going to fall behind with respect to the India's defense sector. Then we have seen by the Pakistan attack, what we have, the Operation Sindoor, and the recent situations with countries like China, we have seen that again, traditional war has been outdated, right? आजकल एक नया kinetic, what we call as non-kinetic warfare has arrived, because war is no longer restricted to missiles and guns. It has been in terms of cyber attacks, it has been in terms of electronic warfare, right? So this is an area where again we need to stay ahead, and that is why this collaboration of scientists and defense personals is required, right? In terms of, again, we have discussed that again how war has been changing. We have been using artificial intelligence, we have been using drones, space, cyber attacks, hypersonic missiles. So again, for all of these, to India to cope up with it, we are going to collaborate and we are going to be ready for all such future warfare and not just relying on traditional guns and tanks, right? So, but ऐसा नहीं कि इंडिया कुछ कर नहीं रहा है. In terms of the defense sector, we have done commendably well. If we talk about the defense production which India has, it has increased to 174%. When we talk about the defense exports which India is doing, it has increased by 30 times, and we are exporting to 100 plus countries. With respect to indigenization or Atmanirbhar Bharat के संदर्भ में, we have that again we have reduced the defense imports by 65 to 70%, and the import dependency has been reduced to 65%, and we are relying more on domestic manufacturing, right? Then in terms of what are the other initiatives which has been taken up by the government with respect to modernize the defense sector of India. We have IDX, that is Innovations for Defense Excellence, which is launched by 2018. And again, they are trying to involve startups, MSMEs, students, and scientists. All of these are going to collaborate together and work towards indigenization. एक छोटी scheme भी है उसके अंदर, what we call as Aditi, that is to accelerate cutting edge tech development in defense sector. We have Srijan platform, which is again helping industries and defense to collaborate together. Industries ki capabilities which can be matching up with the requirement of defense. This is a portal which is integrating them. With respect to policy reforms, we have increased the FDI in defense by up to 74% via automatic route, and we have declared the year of 2025 very important as the year of defense reforms, where again we are going to see a major policy changes with respect to defense sector in India. All of these are very important points for your prelims examination, right? Any question? Sir, yes. What is India's policy on indigenization of defense production and how it been successful? We can talk about the example of how collaboration has been done in this Agni Shodh platform, right? So again, we have cyber warfare is considered as a serious threat to country's security. Highlight the measures taken by government to prevent cyber attacks and ensure security of our cyber space. We have seen that again how exactly we have been जो ट्रेडिशनल वॉरफेयर वो नहीं रहा. वी हैव सीन दैट अगेन हाउ नॉन काइनेटिक warfares has emerged. Again, an example you can use here over, right? Again, how with this Agni Shodh is also making sure that again we are using what we call as technology to work in the emerging tech areas with respect to defense sector, right? Next, important news. Recently, Supreme Court in a very landmark judgment has told that again it has empowered the pollution control boards of India that again they can charge environmental compensation and going by the ideas of polluter pay principle, right? Again, very important for your GS paper number 3, environment and ecology. Sir, ये news आई कहाँ से? Right. So there was a recent case which came up with Supreme Court with the name of Delhi Pollution Control Committee versus Lodhi Properties Corporation Limited. Right. So in this report, एक earlier judgment था of Delhi High Court which told कि in case of any environmental compensation, the Pollution Control of Board of India is not authorized to ask for compensation. Compensation can only be asked by respective courts. On court order only, compensation can be asked from the polluter or the respective company. But with this change of judgment, Supreme Court has quash kar diya hai. Supreme Court has now told that again, yes, if Pollution Control Board fines and again it is no longer, we cannot wait for court to order for compensation. We are giving powers that again the Pollution Control Board of India can impose the environmental compensation for all environmental harm which are being done by companies in India, right? What exactly is environmental compensation? Sir, very simple. अगर आप एक company है, if you are polluting the environment, you are now liable to pay compensation for what amount of damage you have done to environment, right? That is the idea of polluter pay principle, right? So again, you pollute, you pay, right? Either you pay the compensation, or what you can do. आपने कुछ कहा, if let's say if you are in industry, if you have polluted a nearby water source, it is your responsibility. Either you pay the money for the compensation or you take the remedial measure and you clean that river source. That is the idea of environmental compensation. Because we have seen that again in India, with development going on, environment has taken a very backstage and no one is taking responsibility towards the environment. So such kind of important judgments of Supreme Court are very important, right? Now, again, very important, aapse ek aur question. Which DPSP talks about environment? Tell me in comments, right? So next, so Supreme Court in this particular judgment has told कि the Pollution Control Board of India can ask for compensation under which law? Under Section 33A of Water Act, under Section 31A of Air Act. Very basic information, nothing much to discuss over here. And they can impose penalty on the basis of how exact and what the intensity of damage that company has done, right? They can impose penalty, they can ask for compensation, they can ask for आप penalty भी दो, आप compensation भी दो और आप सही भी करो, right? That is upon the discretion of this pollution control board on case by case basis, right? Then what are the legal principles which has been applied? ये पहली बार नहीं हुआ है. There were few other Supreme Court judgments with respect to India Councils for Environmental Legal Action versus Union of India case, Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum versus Union of India case 1986. Under this, Supreme Court has again re-emphasized that again how with respect to environmental compensation, there can be liability plus the restoration which has been done and which has already been done in these previous Supreme Court judgments. Right now, in terms of एक और चीज बोली गई है कि prevention is better than cure. Right. So if Pollution Control Board is finding that again some industry are the potential industries which are going to damage environment, they can act before the damage is actually occurring, right? So these are the few things which has been discussed in this particular judgment of Supreme Court. Basic facts है थोड़ा देखिए, because as Pollution Control Board is very important organization, right? So such institutions, when it comes back in news, there are questions in prelims examination as well, right? For example, CPCB again under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. It has been formed under the Water Act of 1974. It has powers under Air Act also, right? Again, what are the functions? They can control water and air pollution, right? Very important. CPCB only क्या control करता है? Water and air pollution. And they are advising central government with respect to the idea of pollution. There are also state pollution control boards, which are again created under same acts, that is Water Act and Air Act, and they are implementing environmental laws within the respective states of India, right? Basic information, facts for prelims examination. Any questions, sir? Yes, basic hai. Explain the purpose of green finance. Discuss the challenges in India's becoming a hub of green finance, right? So again, we can talk about again how this compensation which has been taken up by these industries can be again going by the idea of green finance can be used an example of question like this, right? Next, place in news. So recently India is celebrating 75 years of anniversary of India-Philippines diplomatic relations. The president of Philippines has visited India, right? So again, that makes this region important for place in news, because we have seen some places which are in news are asked in examination by UPSC. Southeast Asia again बहुत important है, हमने देखा है previous year question papers में how they have been asking questions. They have asked, in fact asked कि range from north to south, arrange from south to north, east to west the country. So please locate what exactly are the things around Philippines, because these kind of news gives you a scope that you are going to open up your map, you are going to locate Philippines, you are going to locate all important regions, Pacific region, important geographical features, right? North, south, east, west regions, what are major oceans, right? So these are the basic things you're going to go and see in your respective maps. Moving on to the quick updates for today. So government has recently appointed or maybe given a tender to a tech company with respect to PAN 2.0 project, right? So what is this particular thing? All of you know permanent account number, PAN card hota hai sabka, right? So it is basically a financial ID card of yours, right? So the income tax department has launched this PAN 2.0 project in the year 2024. So they are basically telling that we are going to modernize the idea of PAN cards and TAN cards for how they are issued and how they are managed. Sir, what is PAN card? PAN card is basically a permanent account number. All financial transactions, all taxes which you are liable are getting recorded in this particular number. It is a 10-digit alphanumeric ID, right? TAN kisko milta hai, sir? The employers, right? So if an employer, of course, is deducting tax while paying salary to you, right? So TAN is basically tax deduction and collection account number, which is of course issued to companies or entities for which are deducting and collecting TDS or TCS, right? So basic है, सिंपल सा है कि इसमें क्या कर रहे हैं कि थोड़ा मॉडर्नाइज कर रहे हैं द प्रोसेस ऑफ हाउ एग्जैक्टली विथ वन पोर्टल वी आर गोइंग टू प्रोवाइड पैन कार्ड्स एंड टैन कार्ड्स. It is going to be a paperless process where people can easily get PAN card registered, right? So PAN data vault, which is of course enhanced because PAN card data is a very important sensitive piece of financial information. So again, we are going to have a very secure vault for them. And again, the entire process of processing this PAN card request or TAN card request is going to be reduced by the processing time. So again, यही basic project है, that is how it is. But again, ऐसे questions काफी आ सकते हैं examination में because we have seen they can ask you basic details about PAN number क्या होता है, TAN number क्या होता है, right? So basic reading is very important. Then the next topic, National Medicinal Plants Board. Of course, with respect to fauna species of India, plants, there are many plants in India which has medicinal properties. Example, Tulsi. Example, Ashwagandha, right? So there is a specific board of India which is trying to conserve such kind of a plants. So that body is basically called as National Medicinal Plants Board, है ना? कभी भी ऐसे bodies use में आती हैं, right? So that becomes important for your examination with respect to basic details, right? It was created in 2000, coming under Ministry of Ayush. Of course, the idea is to promote medicinal plant sector and ensure their conservation, right? क्या करती है ये? Basically, in situ, ex situ conservation. Sir, tell me the difference. Very important topic for your environment. What is the difference between in situ and ex situ conservation method? Right? They are promoting the idea of cultivation of medicinal and aromatic plants. And again, it is supporting the idea of research and development in this sector. And we are going to create herbal gardens in homes and school. Right? Tell me whether your school or college has a herbal garden or not. Right? And again, it is going to give certification with respect to these kind of plants, right? So why it was in use? Because there has been a recent initiative which has been done by this particular board by signing a memorandum of understanding for conservation of all plant species which are of medicinal use, which are threatened with respect to their environment. So in terms of the conservation methods, what can be done? And एक और बोला गया है कि we are going to set up a national medicinal plants garden at All India of Medical Science, that is AIIMS Delhi. Next, bond switching. Sir, ऐसे questions आएंगे आप examination में. They can ask you, bond switching was in news. It is related to which kind of technology? Sir, अब देखिए basic है क्या bond switching कि government are issuing bonds. When they issue bonds, once they want money. So example ki government has issued a bond in with respect to get some money for its requirement. Up the amount of money which government has taken by issuing that particular bond is very high. And the time period of that particular bond is, let's say, of 2 years. अब इतना बड़ा अमाउंट 2 साल में सरकार को देने में इट बिकम्स लिटिल बिट डिफिकल्ट. सो व्हाट दे हैव डन, बिकॉज इंडिया गवर्नमेंट डज नॉट हैव ओनली सिंगल बॉन्ड, मल्टीपल बॉन्ड चलते हैं. सो क्या कर रहे हैं, दे आर स्विचिंग बिटवीन दोज. जो छोटे बॉन्ड के टर्म्स है ना, जो 2 साल में पे करना है, उसको स्विच कर दे रहे हैं लॉन्ग बॉन्ड से, सो दैट अगेन द लाइबिलिटी ऑफ इंटरेस्ट विच इज गोइंग टू बी पेड रिड्यूसेस. सो बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा ने रिसेंट एक स्टडी किया है वेर अगेन इट हैज आइडेंटिफाइड दैट इंडियन गवर्नमेंट हैज सेव्ड approximately 560 crores by not paying interest by using this bond switching technique. So क्या है ये? It is of course replacing the short term government bonds with long term government bonds. For example, आपका एक bond है which is going to end by 27, 2 साल का bond था, right? इसको switch कर देंगे हम, इसकी जगह हम क्या pay कर देंगे? The bond of financial year 32. Right, that is how it is. Right, simple and clear. Objectives क्या है? Of course, to smoothen the debt repayment schedule, reduce interest burden of the government, and going to deepen the bond market. How is it is done? It is done with market participation. Let's say banks and funds are going to collaborate with respect to the idea of bond switching, and again, it is done by the direction of Reserve Bank of India. Right, very important. They can ask a question like this in examination of prelims. Next topic, Rhizotope project. So again, South African government or University of South Africa has launched a particular program in the Waterbug Biosphere Reserve. We have again seen that again illegal poaching and again trading of horns of rhinoceros were done. उन्होंने क्या किया है कि जो rhinoceros के horns होते हैं, they have attached a very small non-visible radioactive kind of a substance which can be detected by scanners at at airports or by scanners at different levels, so that the illicit trading and poaching of this rhinoceros can be stopped. Yahi hai ye news, right? Again, how can it is important for you? Again, questions like films mein you can use it as an example that again how India can also go for such kind of an innovation with respect to the poaching of animals and illicit trade of animal products which is being done across the country, right? Elephant tusks, right? Or the different kind of trade with respect to this is being done, right? So basically to prevent rhino poaching, radioactive isotopes which can detecting detectable radiation is being put up in the horns of rhinoceros, which is of course safe here and they are not invasive, they're not harming rhinoceros, and they can be detected by radiation portal monitors at borders, ports and airports. Of how it is work, it is making the smuggling process easily traceable, deterrent to poachers, and global monitoring for illegal wildlife trade. Very important. Next, ethanol blending petrol was in news. What is ethanol blending? Where again with traditional petrol, we are blending 20% of ethanol, which is making the whole fuel less polluting to the environment, right? So again, it is coming under the policy of National Biofuel Policy of 2018, which was amended in the year 2022. So again, the target is of 20% blending by 25 and 26, which has increased from this to 2030. Important for your examination of prelims. Benefits kya hai? Again, it is going to improve the fuel performance. It is lowering the life cycle of emission, energy security, economic boost to farmers and rural economy. Because if we are procuring ethanol, ethanol is sourced from sugarcane and traditional agricultural produce. Again, it is going to boost the farmers and रूरल इकोनॉमी डायरेक्टली, राइट? सो क्या है प्रॉब्लम्स, क्या है सर इथेनॉल पेट्रोल का कि सर जो माइलेज हो जाएगी ना गाड़ी की वो थोड़ी कम हो सकती है. एंड मेनी टाइम्स वी हैव सीन दैट इंडियन व्हीकल और engines of Indian vehicles are not equipped with ethanol petrol, right? So again, we require specific kind of an engine, right? So corrosion risk with respect to older engines is there, and again it requires high maintenance due to the modification of engine which is going to run in this ethanol petrol, right? Next, Pangong So Lake was in news. Why? Because so recently a joint expedition team has been over there and they have submitted that Mount Merag 3 and Mount Kangri are the highest peaks in this Pangong So region, right? So very important for examination because again एक location है. So please locate where exactly is Pangong So Lake. What are the regions? What are the important areas over here? Very strategic point for India, right? So basic information, it is there in Ladakh. Altitude of this, it is the world's highest saltwater lake. Very, very, very important. Again, 1/3 of the lake region is with India and 2/3 is with China, right? That is where the major dispute is also happening, right? And it is again a part of Pangong Range, which is subsidiary of Ladakh Range. क्या है unique इसके बारे में? Its colors is changing from blue, green, and even red. Tell me which geographical feature is associated with the changing of color of this Pangong Lake in the comment section, right? And it is a only lake which freezes completely in the winter season despite being a saline in nature, right? With respect to ecological significance, it is breeding grounds for species like bar-headed geese, basic ducks, back-snetted cranes, seagulls, right? So that is how thoda information hai. Please read, very important topic for your prelims examination. Asian giant tortoise, again it was in news. Why? Because they have been reintroduced in the Ziliang Community Reserve in Nagaland, right? So again, what kind of habitats? Again, kabhi bhi important species when it comes in news, you're going to read because all out of all the species, these species becomes important for your examination. Or a tip, ki whenever you're reading the species, please see the picture. With picture, it gets imprinted in your subconscious memory, and you can retain that particular piece of species for a longer duration of time. So ये apply करिएगा. It works actually, right? So what are the key features? They are the largest tortoise in mainland Asia. Keystone species. What are keystone species? Agar keystone species are the kind of species, if they are removed from the ecosystem, the entire ecosystem is going to collapse. अगर वो चीज को वहां से इस सिस्टम से हटा दिया, entire ecosystem is going to collapse. Tell me few examples of other few keystone species in grassland ecosystem, in mountain ecosystem, in the comment section, right? What kind of conservation status it has? Again, it is critically endangered under the IUCN status, and it is protected under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. दिक्कत कहाँ पर है? What are the dangers to it in terms of habitat loss and in terms of hunting it for the consumption process, खाने के लिए, right? So very important with respect to Asian giant tortoise. Lastly, Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana was in news, right? So basic hai scheme with respect to women. So again, a centrally sponsored scheme which is coming under Mission Shakti, that is sub-scheme of the Samarthya scheme. A recent update ki the registration in this Matru Vandana Yojana has been extended by the government of Ministry of Women and Child Development. Basic क्या करती है? It is helping women in terms of their nutrition and health whenever they are pregnant and lactating mothers, right? So they are also compensating for the wage loss with respect to when women is going through the process of motherhood, and it is based on Section 4 of National Food Security Act 2013. क्या बेनिफिट सरकार दे रही है यहाँ पर? 5,000 is being paid to every lactating woman or pregnant woman with respect to their nutrition and lactation process in 2 installments in case of first child. In case of second child, 6,000 rupees is given, first installment for second girl child post the birth process. So basic details about this particular scheme. So now we have come to an end for today's discussion. So it is very important that once you have read the topics, once you have listened to the discussion, now it's your duty that you solve the questions which should be popping up in your screen. So all the questions which are coming in your screen has been framed from all the topics what we have discussed today. So by reading, you are going to apply that again, whether I have understood the topic, whether I am in a position to solve these questions or not. And once you have solved, please post your answers in the comment section, so that again we can see that again how engaged you are with respect to the new edition of Vision IAS. And it gives us also a pleasure that again once we receive comments in the form of your answers in the comment section. Lastly, Vision IAS has come up with a digital current affairs website, which is a one-stop solution for all current affairs problem with respect to this examination. Please go and explore this website, which is going to give you a lot of benefits with respect to your current affairs. Thank you so very much and have a good night.